The stage is set for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. 48 teams, all with the same goal to lift soccer's greatest prize in July. The questions still surround the US of A. How much can we really take from their friendlies in Atlanta against some of the world's best? And speaking of the best, there's a new #1 in town. We'll break down FIFA's latest rankings. A&F Overtime Soccer starts now.
The world is coming to Atlanta. Are you ready for the World Cup?
Well, you heard the mayor. The world is coming to Atlanta. That's got a nice ring to it, doesn't it? What's happening, everybody? I'm Avery Braxton, and tonight on A&F Overtime Soccer, the countdown is on for Atlanta's first ever World Cup match. 65 days, that is our magic number. Just over 2 months until Cape Verde takes on European giants Spain at Atlanta Stadium. That's the first of 8 matches in Atlanta for the World Cup. And after last week's qualifiers, we now know where every team is that's hitting our city for the group stage. South Africa is going to take on Czechia June 18th at noon, and the DR Congo, another late qualifier, will face Uzbekistan on June 27th at 7:30. A lot to look forward to this summer. So how exactly did we get here? The final 6 teams had to book their spots in the World Cup during this past international break. And if those qualifiers are any indication of how this year's tournament is going to go down, well, we're in for a show. Let's start with the biggest story coming out of the qualifiers. Bosnia and Herzegovina is the reason Italy will be missing yet another World Cup. The Blue and Yellow Dragons knocked the Azzurri out in penalties. Italy was forced to play most of that match with 10 men thanks to a red card, and Bosnia took advantage, eventually winning 4-1 in the shootout, and thus began the party. Tens of thousands of Bosnian fans gathered in the nation's capital to celebrate. Meanwhile, Italy becomes the first former World Cup winner to miss not 1, not 2, but 3 straight editions of the tournament. Bosnia will be Canada's opponent in its World Cup opener in Group B. And by the way, their captain, Edin Dzeko, will join a rare club this summer, becoming one of 4 players to take part in a World Cup over the age of 40. Hard to believe Cristiano Ronaldo also set to join that club. Moving down the line of European playoffs, it also took penalties to decide a winner between Czechia and Denmark. Czechia beat the Danes 3-1 in the shootout to secure its first World Cup finals berth in 20 years. They're going to play in Group A. Turkey took down Kosovo 1-0 to earn the final spot in the USA's group. A notorious sleeper team in major tournaments, Turkey could pose a serious threat to the U.S. in Group D. And then Sweden backdoored their way into Group F after beating Ukraine and Poland in the UEFA playoffs. And they did so having won 0 games in their World Cup qualifiers. The Swedes only earned a spot in the playoffs due to their topping their Nations League group in 2024. The DR Congo and Iraq round off the final 2 teams in the tournament. Both of those teams played in Mexico. The Congo will compete in Group K after just barely edging past Jamaica 1-0 in extra time. Iraq grabbed the final spot with a 2-1 win over Bolivia. They land in Group I. With qualifiers all said and done, this is how the U.S. group is going to look. The red, white, and blue are up against Australia, Paraguay, Turkey, and the USA in their own group for a place in the round of 32. Unlike previous tournaments, the top 8 third-place teams across all 12 groups will advance to the knockout stage. And they'll have to do it without Patrick Agyemang, who suffered an Achilles tendon injury over the weekend. The forward was stretchered off after an awkward landing while playing for second-tier English side Derby County. The team made the announcement Tuesday, ruling Agyemang out of the World Cup. And it's a tough blow for the U.S. Agyemang was a very bright spark in what turned out to be a pretty disappointing international break. The U.S. lost both games in Atlanta at the end of March against very, very good opponents. Belgium spanked the Stars and Stripes. Despite a competitive 1-1 first half, the Red Devils scored 4 second-half goals in a 5-2 win. Agyemang and Weston McKennie getting on the score sheet for the good guys. A similar story versus Portugal, who will be happy with its tune-up performances. Trincao João and And Trincao and João Felix scored the game's only goals in a 2-0 win. And it must be said, Portugal and Belgium are both top 10 teams, something head coach Mauricio Pochettino said can go a long way in getting the U.S. ready for the World Cup.
Even if it's painful, it's the only way to improve. It's the only way to learn. It's the only way to see how these top players and teams.
It's just all around. I mean, just figuring out how to break down and just manage these games a little bit better against big teams and figuring out a way to do it. But again, I feel we're very close, so I'm not super concerned. I saw a lot of good things, and I think things are going to click in the right moments.
Of course, these games were the first time we got to see the U.S. sport its new swag on the field. The fresh kit's going to bring a good new look with an old school feel. Atlanta News 4 sports director Bailey Burmaster has more in this week's Match Report.
Welcome into your Match Report, where we tell you everything you need to know about the 2026 FIFA World Cup. It's always an exciting time to catch what uniforms the U.S. men's national team will don come summer. And the 2026 World Cup kit has officially launched. This kit was created in tandem with Nike and the U.S. men's national team players who sat in workshops to craft something to wear with pride on the pitch this summer. Nike took the player input and funneled it directly into the kit, making something that feels authentic to those that will represent the best of the U.S. You can see stripes waving like our flag, and the Stars kit dripped in silver. These kits are also sold for fans to get their hands on their own.
Thanks, Bailey. Great jerseys can go a long way, but what really makes the beautiful game just so beautiful? Well, it starts with the pitch. I got Landon Knight from Score Atlanta joining me right now. Landon, let's talk about the grass. A lot of work being done in Mercedes-Benz Stadium to get ready for the World Cup, right?
That's exactly right. And this started 2 summers ago when they put in a new drainage system at the stadium. Earlier this year, officials replaced the artificial turf with natural grass. It includes synthetic fibers that bind together to make up the playing surface. We saw this pitch in use during the U.S. friendlies against Belgium and Portugal. The surface will be used 4 more times by Atlanta United before new grass is installed for World Cup games, this time next month.
Landon, what kind of maintenance goes into the installation of that grass?
There are specific guidelines set by FIFA, from grass length to firmness and how the ball moves along the surface. It comes down to the tiniest of the details. And Michigan State University is quietly at the center of it all. MSU is providing the world-class grass for all 16 host stadiums. Groundskeepers at Mercedes-Benz stadiums will stitch the grass together and put down grass lights to get the pitch ready for the global tournament. The job actually went to grass experts in South Georgia for the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. Pike Creek Turf and Adele provided the services that were used for 81 practice fields and 8 stadiums.
Landon, we appreciate it. Thank you. Still to come, what's up with the U.S. men's national team? Struggling so far, what are the best matches coming to Atlanta? The host of MLS on Apple TV, Kevin Egan, shares his thoughts on all that coming up next. And there's a new #1 in the world as we count down to the FIFA World Cup, and it isn't Messi's Argentina. See who the king of the hill is coming up next, but first, your World Cup fact of the week.
You're watching Overtime on Atlanta News First.
Now that we've seen the U.S. men's national team on the pitch in 2026, it's time to break down what we've learned. And for that, let's bring in the ambassador of the World Cup in Atlanta and the host of MLS on Apple TV, Kevin Egan. Kevin, really appreciate you joining us. We were talking about the U.S. men's national team in the upcoming World Cup, of course. What did we learn from those friendlies against Portugal and Belgium?
That we've got a lot of concerns, Avery, right now. The last window before the squad is picked for the World Cup, and the US come away with 2 losses on home soil. And I think more questions than answers at this point as to where exactly this group is at under Mauricio Pochettino. The leaders didn't step up. The defense looks a little bit porous. I'm really lacking confidence in this group right now, and we shouldn't be saying that this close to the World Cup. Now, in saying that, these were games against Belgium and Portugal, superior opposition than what the US will face in their group in Turkey, Paraguay, and Australia. And let's see, but after this latest window in Atlanta, man, So many questions.
We looked at the first halves of those games, and those are the ones that the United States feels like they have the most confidence in. Are those first halves more indicative of what the U.S. could be, or do you have to look at the totality of these games as subs are made and maybe some of the depth is in question as well?
No, I think you can lean into the first half. If you're Mauricio Pochettino right now, I think you have to look at the positives and figure out, okay, who's performed well, what's our system, which is really important so the players understand what's expected from them and what's expected from their teammates, and also the synergy amongst the group. But right now, man, it's difficult to understand who the double pivots are going to be. If Tyler Adams is fit, he's in there. Who's his partner going to be at this point?
Patrick Agyemang, with a serious injury to his Achilles, won't be in form for the World Cup. Who kind of has to step up, and did it make it an easier decision maybe for Pochettino in terms of who's going to be on this World Cup roster going into the summertime?
No, I don't think it's an easy decision at all for Mauricio Pochettino. Pochettino's a fan of Patrick Agyemang. You know, he's someone who offers something completely different, and I'm devastated for him. Absolutely devastated, because he's a real success story of a late bloomer in the game that's thriving right now. His Achilles goes, he's out for the World Cup. Now who steps up in this moment? Well, there's names, you know, Balogun's going to be the starter, but there's names like Haji Wright, Ricardo Pepi has been in tremendous form at PSV. You've also got players that are thrown into the mix here from afar. Maybe we're going to see a wild card pick. And I'm seeing on social media an awful lot of people starting to pump up Xavier Gozo right now, who plays with Real Salt Lake, who scored a great goal against Atlanta at the Benz recently.
Pulisic is the, last name star. What has to change with him, or what has changed with him, and can he correct it in time for the U.S. to make a run?
Yeah, I think so much is obviously going to be made of Christian Pulisic. He's a player who broke onto the scene when he was, 16 or 17? 17, certainly, with the U.S. men's national team. And he has been, they call him Captain America. He's been that guy, but he's never been that personality. He's scored big goals in games. He's been a great footballer. But off the field, even there's question marks around his body language after the loss against Portugal in his interview and things like that. He doesn't seem to have the dog in him that Clint Dempsey would have, or Landon Donovan would have publicly. And that's okay. That just means that other players have to step in and help him in that regard. It's about carrying yourself and understanding that you need to have a little bit of a swagger. You need to have that little bit of arrogance in these big moments. If you're going to go up against Lionel Messi in Argentina, you cannot be bullied. You've got to figure out ways to get inside the mind of the opponent. And Pulisic needs a bit of help, I feel.
Let's switch gears just a little bit. The World Cup matches that are going to be in Atlanta have been set. And what do you make of the matches that'll be coming to the A now?
The first game, to be honest, Avery, is the one that jumps off the page for me because it is the ultimate underdog story. It's Spain with Lamine Yamal, the best teenager on the planet, up against Cabo Verde, or Cape Verde, as some people call them, a country off the west coast of Africa, a country that consists of 10 islands. It has a population of about Metro Atlanta. It's just crazy to me that Cape Verde have made the World Cup. And I think even a game like DR Congo, the last time they made the World Cup was 1974 when they were known as Zaire, and they're back at the World Cup now, a nation I think of about 110 million people. So the support behind them will be absolutely massive against Uzbekistan, a side that are in the World Cup for the very first time. But the World Cup is just littered with great stories, and it's littered with the fun and the flavour and the flair, and that's all coming to downtown Atlanta. And I think about the fan fest we're going to have at Centennial Olympic Park, and I think about the Centennial Yards Entertainment District there with COSM and the Irish Exit. They'll be open at that time, and just the fun that these fans are going to bring.
Who better than an ambassador for the World Cup here in Atlanta to give you exactly what you can expect with the World Cup coming to the A here in just a couple of months. Kevin, we really appreciate your time, man. You have been fantastic for us, and we'll see you next time.
Appreciate you. Thanks, Avery.
There's a new number one in the beautiful game. France sits alone at the top of the latest FIFA Men's World Ranking, overtaking Spain, the current European champions, who, by the way, beat France on its way to winning the 2024 Euros. And when it comes to ranking international teams, FIFA uses a unique method. It's called SUM. And to sum it up, the governing body adds or subtracts points based on the relative strength of the opponent. So, you beat a high-ranked team, you earn more points. You lose against a team lower in the standings, you're going to watch your ranking drop. Does that make sense? Of course it does. France reclaimed that number one spot after beating two teams in the top 15. That was Brazil and Colombia. In the grand scheme of things, These games don't mean a ton, but the rankings can be a good way to gauge how teams may fare in the World Cup. Looking at the top 10 right now, you've got France, Spain, and Argentina, and then you got England. Those are your tournament favorites. The top 3 make up 3 of the last 4 World Cup winners. Then you got Portugal, Brazil, and the Netherlands. They fall in that next bracket of teams. Those are countries who are expected to compete, but aren't on that same level as a favorite. I'd even go so far as to throw in Germany at number 10 in that same kind of bracket. As for Morocco and Belgium, those are the teams that are going to be considered your dark horses, so to speak. Morocco was a World Cup semifinalist in 2022, and then we saw what Belgium is capable of right here in Atlanta after they whipped up on the U.S. men's national team here at the end of March. Looking further down the rankings, these are countries that will be fun to root for if you're looking for a secondary team to support. Croatia could be considered an underdog. They were a World Cup finalist back in 2018, a semifinalist in 2022. But a lot of the key players on those teams have aged. The U.S. and Mexico sit side by side at 15 and 16. The Stars and Stripes actually dropped a ranking after the international break games. Italy and Denmark are the only teams inside the top 20 who are not in the World Cup this year. Up next, back to Atlanta and the latest updates on preparations for the city's 8 matches, including some of the funding that the city is, let's call it, still waiting on. Plus, like it or not, get ready to see more commercials during matches this summer. When and where you will see them after kickoff. A&F Overtime Soccer is back in 3.
You're watching Overtime on Atlanta News First.
There's still a lot to do ahead of the first World Cup match in Atlanta, from security to transportation and new ways to watch the game. City and FIFA officials gave an update as Atlanta gets ready to welcome the world. A&F senior reporter Patrick Quinn explains.
The city is ready. You know, we are excited. We're ready to welcome the world.
Inside Mercedes-Benz Stadium, City of Atlanta, alongside FIFA, business, MARTA, and airport officials, said Atlanta will be ready to host 8 World Cup matches this summer. Top of mind for the city is security, but due to the partial government shutdown, $625 million from FEMA, earmarked for security for World Cup host cities, has not been distributed, and that includes Atlanta.
But you haven't gotten any FEMA dollars yet?
Not as of yet. Not as of yet. We have done all the appropriate paperwork that we were supposed to do at this time. So it has not stopped our planning. I want to make very sure, from a public safety perspective, we are still going full force ahead, knowing that our partnership with the federal government will work out.
MARTA said they're on track to welcome the thousands of visitors. Their trains will run every 5 minutes on game days, and they expect 6 new trains to be in revenue service for the World Cup. Also, expect to see new changes around MARTA escalators. New bollards and chains will be installed to help with crowd control, to help avoid a similar emergency that occurred after a Beyoncé concert last summer. Expect changes to Atlanta's pitch as well.
And inside Mercedes-Benz Stadium, what will be called Atlanta Stadium for this tournament, real natural grass will be installed here in May. The roof, it'll be closed for the course of the tournament. They'll also have glow lights every night to help ensure the natural grass stays healthy for all 8 matches here in Atlanta.
But for the thousands who will not be able to secure a seat inside the stadium, officials are setting up World Cup watch parties across the 29 counties in Metro Atlanta, with the largest spectacle at the Fan Zone in downtown Atlanta, which will show games on the 40-foot screen 16 days of the tournament.
Our idea and our goal is to make sure that there's opportunities for people all over the region and state to be a part of World Cup.
Patrick Quinn, Atlanta News First.
The road to the World Cup in Atlanta is still under construction. The city is spending $120 million on repaving roads, fixing up sidewalks, and improving the lighting. Crews are also using this time to patch up small water main leaks. They are using AI technology to find the leaks and then repair them before repaving and repainting the road. While the projects are happening all at once and leading to headaches for drivers, Atlanta's chief operating officer says the short-term pain will be worth it in the long run.
So we've spent a lot of money investing on getting ready. I know it's been uncomfortable for some people, road lanes closed or what have you, but I will say, from potholes to infrastructure work, we feel really good about.
Please tell that to my commute. As we mentioned earlier, Atlanta's first match is on Monday, June 15th. The city will host a total of 8 matches, including a semifinal at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, which will go by Atlanta Stadium per FIFA rules. I'm sure everyone's stoked for more commercials as well at this year's tournament. FIFA gave the green light for ads to be shown during water breaks. These stoppages will happen for 3 minutes midway through each half of all 104 matches this summer. As a player welfare measure, broadcasters must return to the action more than 30 seconds before play resumes. FIFA revealed the first single from the official World Cup album, and it gives us a taste of all 3 host nations. The song, titled Lighter, features American star Jelly Roll and Mexican performer Kieran Leon providing the vocals. The track was produced by Circuit, a Canadian who won the 2026 Grammy for Producer of the Year. That is going to do it for me. Thanks for joining us on Overtime Soccer. I'm Avery Braxton for my producer, Ben. Have a great afternoon.